Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Restoration Therapy. Kevin is here for part 2 of this awesome 2002 computer that I found in a trash pile. So here's just a recap of what we did. We took the motherboard out, we cleaned it up, we made sure it was all nice and good, stuck everything in the case, successfully was able to boot. We installed this Radeon graphics card, and of course that worked as well. We put in this 32 gigabyte CF card, and everything worked beautifully. We also made sure we stuck our Skynet sticker on here, and we put in a LAN card because this does not have any onboard LAN, and here is our setup. So let's go ahead and let's go to the software install now. Okay, so we're going to start with installing the operating system. So let's slide in our Windows 98 CD-ROM and our Windows 98 boot disk and power it on. So here we go. We have the original BIOS set up. We have our 256 megabytes of RAM, or gigabytes, no, it's megabytes, I guess. And we'll start this computer with CD-ROM support. So we have to make sure that we prep the hard drive first, because right now it's not prepped. So I'm sorry my capture card cut off the left side of the screen, but that's okay. So right now we're in the A drive, the floppy drive, and we'll just run fdisk. And we'll enable large disk support. And first we'll view our disk's partition and see that there are none, so we're going to have to create one. So we'll select option number 1, and then create a primary DOS partition number 1. And it will ask us here for the maximum size for a DOS partition. Now, I don't know why, I guess I'm just dumb, but it only maximized out at 8 gigs. So I'm going to have to fix that later. So now I'm going to reboot the computer with my boot disk still in the drive. So now that we've partitioned our installation partition, we need to format it so we can install the operating system. So let's go ahead and start with CD-ROM support. And here we go, blah, 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 it's moving. Okay. All right. So now we're going to type format C:, and I made a boo-boo here because format command is not on the A drive. So I'm going to go to the CD-ROM drive where Windows 98 is and travel into the Win98 folder and do format C:, and everything should move along from there. So we'll do all this fun stuff here and see how it's 8 gigs. I don't know. Somebody who's smarter than me with old computers. I don't think I've had this problem before, so I don't know what to do right now. All right, so we'll go ahead and set up a label here of Win98 SE. Yeah, there we go. And we're going to make a directory in the C drive Windows 98 and copy the installation files from the CD-ROM drive to the C drive. That's going to help out so much later on. And it also speeds up the process of installing the operating system. So now once all the files are installed, let's go to the C drive and see that we have a Win98 folder, travel into that directory and run setup. And of course, like any good Windows 98 setup, we're going to start with ScanDisk to make sure everything is in good shape. And here we go. So I've seen this installer so many times in my life, and every single time it brings a smile to my face, because part of my fondest memories as a kid was breaking the family computer so I could reinstall Windows. I don't know why, but that was just such a cool thing to do. And when Windows 98 first came out and I installed that for the first time on CD-ROM, that was just so cool. So we're going to get everything set up here. We don't need a startup disk. And here we go. So sit back and relax for the next 30 minutes while I talk to you about sweet nothings. Just kidding. We'll go ahead and skip to the end of this. Whoop, there we go. And the computer will restart on its own. So of course now the floppy disk, the boot disk, has to be taken out of the drive, and then here we go, starting Windows 98 for the first time. Very nice. Very cool. Alright, so we're popping him back in the setup here. Having to detect all of the plug and play devices, updating our system settings, setting our system clock, all that stuff happens here. And now our installation's complete. So we'll boot into Windows 98. And here it is. We'll cancel that. Now there's some default drivers here it needs to install, like the monitor driver. We'll just let that happen. But as you can see, this is pretty vanilla. There's no, advanced graphics or anything. There's no sound. And of course, my capture card's not picking up sound for some reason. We'll look at that later. So we'll put in the installation disk that came with my video card. We'll slide that in here. Let's get video up and running first. So we'll just install all of the different pieces of software on this CD-ROM. And then next time we come back into Windows, we should have advanced graphics, so we could put true 32-bit colors, and higher resolution. Right now I think this is 640, 480, or 800 by 600, one of those two. But here we go, installing DirectX. Alright, now we'll restart the computer. And here we go, from scratch. Boom, coming into Windows 98. Alright, cancel this. Alright, awesome. So you can see the colors are much more in depth, which is great. So we'll go to Properties, Settings, and let's see here. We slide this to the far side. Okay, cool. We have some actual serious resolutions here, but let's do 1024 by 768, which would have been a pretty common resolution for this time. And it looks great. So we'll hit yes, apply. And all right, now let's check out our device manager and see if there's any other drivers to install. So we have two things here, the Ethernet card and the sound card. So let me get this floppy disk that came with my Ethernet card, and we'll slide this in. And this has drivers up until basically anything latest and greatest 2000. So this is a pretty good disk to have. So let me slide down to the Windows 98 directory and we'll install those drivers. And now, once this is installed, we can restart, and I can FTP to my more modern computer and copy files over that way, which is pretty convenient actually. So let me cancel that. And I did this off camera, but I FTP'd over the sound card drivers, so let's reinstall those. So I will select where to grab them here. So browse. I have them here, and then next. Awesome, cool. There's my sound device on this motherboard. Excellent. And now our sound is installed. And on the right side, we see our little speaker there. Very cool. Now let's try a game. I'm going to try out Unreal Tournament, which is from 1999, so this should run fairly well on this computer. So let's test out a game and see how the system works. Oh yeah, this is just such a classic intro. And this is running at I think 1024 by 768, which again is a pretty common resolution for the time. And it's running the OG Unreal Tournament very well. This is quite smooth, a couple of stutters here and there, but nothing that really makes it terrible. And you know, one thing I love about these early 3D FX games is when I look at this, if I stick my face close to the screen, I feel like I'm playing a modern day VR game. Doesn't it kind of have an Oculus look to it? I mean, I love it. I think it's fantastic. I think it looks great. Nice smooth motion, moving around nice. I love this little cut over here where you go to the inside of the stairs or the ladder here on the fire escape. That's great. Cool. Ooh. Stick your face really close to the screen. I swear, it's like you're playing a VR game. Alright, so now that we've gone through that, let's install Microsoft Plus 98, which we discussed in part 1, just for, I don't know, fun completeness. Alright, so let's do that. Put in my CD key. Yeah, we'll scan for viruses with, you know, the latest and greatest 1998 virus definitions. I'm sure we're safe. Alright, setting up, configuring our desktop theme. Let's just select something at random so we can prove that it works. So I'll just select, let's see, this horror channel. I guess that must have been a TV channel back in the day. And I apply it, and I don't see my desktop, but that's all right. We'll see what happens here. Let's reboot the computer after we finish the Microsoft Plus setup. And look at that. Look at that splash screen. That is freaking awesome. That takes me back. All right, so now that we've rebooted our desktop, wallpaper's fine. So I don't know what was going on there. All right. So now we'll go into settings here, and this desktop themes was installed, and all these new desktop themes. So let's just pick another one just to make it all cool. We can have the vintage Windows 98 Platinum experience. About Peanuts. Peanuts, yeah, there we go. We'll do Peanuts. I like this. I like that, was it the comic whatever fonts? Gorgeous. Cool. Now let's try a game that would have been a fairly latest and greatest by this time. This game came out, I think, in 2002, Unreal Tournament 2003. And here it is running in 1024 by 768. And it looks pretty good. Couple of stutters there with the explosives. Now we'll spectate a match here and move around once the match starts. And you know, it's choppy at 1024 by 768, but it's completely playable. This would have been a resolution that I could probably have only dreamed of at this time, because I didn't have the kind of money to have resolution like this. I was playing games at like 640 by 480, 800 by 600. This looks fantastic. I mean, again, like I said, it's stuttery, but it's absolutely doable. All right, what if we lower the resolution here? Let's do that real quick. Let's lower it to something like I would have probably used, like 640 by 480. And let's see what it looks like. And okay, now it's a lot smoother. I could see some screen tearing, but that's just some configurations on the graphics software that I can probably mess around with. And then going through that tunnel there, it looked actually quite good. This would have been a great experience for me back at this time. Very cool. All right, now look at this view. Cool. All right, well, thank you everybody for checking out this video, and we'll come back again some other time and do some other cool stuff. All right, Skynet, let's take over the world.